science is awesome, but if we're not conscientious, it can also be awful on the environment. From generating lots of waste to using chemicals that aren't that great for the environment, either in terms of the waste that they generate or in terms of how they the practices that have to be done in order to mine or get these chemicals. But we can do better. And so where to start? So I'm happy to tell you about, a little late though, there's this free conference, this virtual conference happening this weekend. It is organized by the Global Green, the Green Laboratory Works group. It's a group of students out of Germany, including the IUB&B Training Initiative's own Patrick Pendorf, and so the IUB&B TI is partnering and helping support this conference, which is going to have talks from leaders from the green science community from around the world, and there's going to be interactive discussions and workshops helping you try to green your work, as well as tips for helping you convince other people to green their own work. Even if you can't attend the conference, which I hope you'll be able to do, remember it's free, lots of great talks and workshops, as well as opportunities for networking and staying in touch after the fact. You can also check out their website. It has a bunch of great tips, as well as some statistics you can use about how wasteful science can be, in order to try to convince people that this really is an issue that we need to be worried about. In the meantime, even if you can't make the conference, if you check out the website, get more information, there are also things that you can do when you're going in your day-to-day work around the lab. And so you can concentrate on the 5 R's. So you might have heard of the 3 R's, so like reduce, reuse, recycle. But we're going to talk about 5 R's, and they're actually things that are better than just reducing. And so that would be originally refusing. So say, I don't need this in the first place. If you do need it, can you reduce it? Can you use less of it? Then you want to think about, okay, well, if I used it, can I use it again? How about again? Again? So you can reuse things a lot of times that you wouldn't think that you could actually reuse. Then you have repurpose. So if it's no longer useful in what it was originally supposed to do, made to do, can you use it for something else? And then finally, if all of those have gone, there's nothing you can do with it, recycle. And this way, maybe its parts can be used for making new things, to do more science and all sorts of cool stuff. And so it's important too, though, that this is kind of one of the reasons also why I'm so into knowing what you're doing at each step, and in each different protocol, because there are times you wouldn't want to reuse a pipette tip if you're worried about contamination, such as from you're working with RNA, if you're worried about cross-contamination between PCR samples. So there are times where you definitely don't want to reuse your pipette tips and that sort of thing. But it's important that if you know the steps, then you can know, oh, maybe I can do things like this, and I can pipette the water from it and then pipette the buffer from it, but don't stick your pipette tip that you're reusing back in the stock vial. Don't do that. But there are things that you can do to use less waste, and so more on that in the website, and then in the talks at the conference, and just try to be more conscientious of the waste that you're generating in the lab, as well as look into whether there are more environmentally friendly alternatives to some of the chemicals that you might be using. So if you're doing, say, a Comasi stain, can you use ethanol instead of methanol? That'll be better for the environment, and that sort of thing. So there are things that you can do to help green up your lab work, and I hope that you'll check out this conference.